"Burn the monster!" someone shouted, and hundreds of voices echoed the same words beneath the silver glow of the full moon. Olivia Bennet froze at the edge of the crowd, her fingers tightening around the basket she carried. The sound rolled through the town square like a storm, loud enough to shake the banners hanging from the stone buildings. Lanterns swayed in the chilly autumn wind. Wolves from every corner of Grey Hollow Pack had gathered around the ancient judgment platform at the center of town. Olivia had heard rumors all week. Everyone had. They said a creature had been captured deep in the Blackwood Forest. They said it was dangerous, cursed, unnatural. Some claimed it had glowing eyes. Others swore it could speak with voices that did not belong to it. But as Olivia slowly stepped closer through the crowd, what she saw made her heart sink. The creature was not a beast towering over the platform. It was a child. A boy sat alone inside a cage made of dark iron. He looked no older than 10. His clothes were torn and dusty from travel. Dark hair fell across his face. Strange black markings curled along his neck and disappeared beneath his sleeves like shadows trapped beneath his skin. The crowd recoiled every time he moved. Yet the boy himself looked terrified. His small hands gripped the bars. His shoulders trembled. And when he lifted his head, Olivia saw something she never expected. Tears. "Monster," a man spat beside her. "It should have never been allowed to live." Several people nodded. Others whispered prayers beneath their breath. Olivia felt a knot form in her stomach. She had grown up hearing stories about monsters. They were supposed to be frightening, cruel, hungry for destruction. This child looked nothing like the stories. He looked lonely. On the platform above, Elder Marcus raised both hands for silence. The crowd slowly quieted. 3 months ago, the elder announced, this creature was discovered near the northern border. Since then, strange events have followed wherever it goes. Crops failed. Animals fled. Wolves reported seeing shadows moving where none should exist. Murmurs spread through the gathering. The council has reached a decision, Marcus continued. Tomorrow night, the creature will face final judgment. Cheers erupted around the square. Olivia felt her chest tighten. She glanced back toward the cage. The boy lowered his head as though he already knew what was coming. No anger. No resistance. Just sadness. Then something unexpected happened. A small girl standing near the front of the crowd dropped a wooden doll. It slipped through the railings surrounding the platform and landed near the cage. Before anyone could react, the trapped boy slowly reached through the bars, picked up the doll, and carefully held it out. The little girl hesitated. Her mother immediately pulled her back. "Don't touch him," she snapped. The child's doll remained suspended in the boy's trembling hand. For a long moment, nobody moved. Then the boy quietly placed it on the ground and retreated to the far corner of the cage. Olivia swallowed hard. She could not explain why, but something felt terribly wrong. The crowd saw a monster. She saw a frightened child abandoned by everyone around him. Above the square, clouds drifted across the moon. The light dimmed for a moment, casting long shadows over the platform. And hidden among those shadows, unseen by the crowd, a tall man in a dark coat watched everything in silence. His silver eyes never left Olivia Bennet. Olivia should have gone home when the crowd began to disperse, but her feet refused to move. The image of the boy sitting alone inside that iron cage lingered in her mind long after the lanterns started disappearing down the streets of Grey Hollow. The air had grown colder, carrying the scent of pine trees from the distant forest. One by one, families returned to their homes, satisfied that the council had made its decision. Yet Olivia could not stop thinking about the way the child had offered the doll back to the little girl. Monsters were not supposed to do that. Monsters were not supposed to look heartbroken when people turned away from them. By the time the town square was nearly empty, only a few guards remained near the platform. Olivia tightened her coat around her shoulders and slowly approached. One of the guards recognized her immediately. "You should head home, Olivia," he said. "There is nothing to see here." She nodded politely, pretending to leave. Instead, she circled behind the nearby meeting hall and waited. Minutes passed, then more. Eventually, the guards settled into conversation, their attention drifting elsewhere. Olivia took a quiet breath and slipped between the shadows until she reached the back side of the platform. Up close, the cage looked even smaller. The boy sat curled against the far corner, his head resting on his knees. For a moment, she wondered if he was asleep. Then his voice surprised her. "You came back." Olivia froze. The words were soft, almost hesitant. "You knew I was here?" she whispered. The boy lifted his head. Moonlight reflected in his dark eyes. "You were the only one who looked sad." Olivia did not know what to say. Something about that answer made her chest ache. She carefully reached into her basket and pulled out a wrapped piece of bread she had saved from dinner. "You probably have not eaten much." The child stared at it. "They usually leave food outside the cage." "Usually?" "Sometimes they forget." Olivia swallowed. She carefully slid the bread through the bars. The boy accepted it with both hands as though it were something precious. "Thank you," he said quietly. No growl. No threat. Just gratitude. He broke off a small piece and ate slowly. Olivia noticed how thin he looked beneath the oversized clothes. "What is your name?" she asked. The boy hesitated. "Noah. I am Olivia." A faint smile touched his face for the first time. It vanished almost immediately. "You should not talk to me." "Why?" Noah lowered his eyes. "Because bad things happen to people who are kind to me." Before Olivia could respond, a sudden gust of wind swept across the square. The lantern flames flickered. Somewhere in the distance, a wolf howled. Noah immediately tensed. His fingers tightened around the bread. Fear flashed across his face so quickly that Olivia nearly missed it. Then she noticed something else. The strange markings on his neck seemed darker than before, shifting faintly beneath his skin like living shadows. Noah quickly pulled his collar higher. "You should go," he whispered. "Please." Footsteps echoed from the front of the platform. Guards were returning. Olivia stepped back into the darkness, but before leaving she glanced at Noah one last time. He was already staring at the ground again, alone behind the bars. What she did not see was the tall figure standing atop a nearby rooftop, silver eyes fixed on both of them. And for the first time that night, Alpha King Ethan Blackthorne looked troubled. The next morning, Grey Hollow woke beneath a sky the color of cold steel. Olivia barely touched her breakfast. Noah's words echoed in her mind with every passing minute. "Bad things happen to people who are kind to me." She tried convincing herself to stay away from the town square. The council had already made its decision. Nothing she said would matter. Yet as the morning stretched into afternoon, an uneasy feeling settled deeper inside her chest. By sunset, the entire town had gathered once again around the judgment platform. More wolves had arrived from neighboring territories after hearing rumors about the strange child in the cage. The crowd seemed larger than before, louder too. Olivia stood near the back, hoping to remain unnoticed. That hope vanished the moment Elder Marcus stepped onto the platform. "Tomorrow night," he announced, "the final judgment will take place. Any citizen found aiding the creature between now and then will be considered an enemy of Grey Hollow." Murmurs spread through the crowd. Olivia felt her stomach drop. The elder continued. "Food, shelter, comfort, information. Any assistance whatsoever will carry consequences." Several wolves nodded in approval. Others exchanged nervous glances. The message was clear. Noah was completely alone. The meeting ended, but the tension remained. As people began leaving, Olivia noticed a group of young wolves approaching the cage. They did not get too close, yet their expressions carried the same fear she had seen everywhere else. One of them picked up a small stone from the ground and tossed it toward the cage. It landed harmlessly several feet away, but the others laughed nervously. Noah immediately retreated to the far corner. Olivia's chest tightened. Without thinking, she stepped forward. "Stop." The single word escaped before she could reconsider. The group turned toward her. "What did you say?" one of them asked. Olivia swallowed hard. "I seem to be watching now. He has not done anything to you." Silence followed. Then a few people laughed. "You sound sorry for it," someone called out. Another voice joined in. "Maybe she likes monsters." More laughter followed. Heat rushed into Olivia's face, but she remained where she was. Her heart pounded so loudly she could hear it. The young wolves eventually wandered away, bored by the confrontation. Yet whispers continued spreading through the square. Olivia could feel the judgment in every glance. By the time she finally turned to leave, she realized Noah was staring at her through the bars. Confusion filled his eyes, along with something else. Hope. That frightened her more than the crowd ever could, because hope meant he believed she might come back. As darkness settled over Grey Hollow, Olivia walked home beneath the first rising stars. She did not notice the rider following from a distance. Cloaked in black, Ethan Blackthorne guided his horse through the shadows beyond the town. He had spent 2 days watching the people of Grey Hollow. Only one person had surprised him. And for the first time since arriving, the Alpha King decided he wanted to know exactly who Olivia Bennet was. That night, sleep refused to come. Olivia lay awake listening to the wind brush against the walls of her small cottage while questions circled endlessly through her mind. Every story she had heard about the boy told her to stay away. Every instinct in her heart told her something was wrong. Long after midnight, she finally rose from bed, wrapped herself in a wool coat, and stepped outside beneath a sky crowded with stars. Grey Hollow was silent. Most lanterns had already gone dark. The streets stood empty except for drifting leaves carried by the cold breeze. Olivia moved carefully through the shadows until the judgment platform appeared ahead. Only 2 guards remained on duty. They sat near a fire, speaking quietly to each other, waiting until their attention drifted elsewhere. Olivia slipped around the backside of the square. Her pulse raced as she approached the cage. Noah was awake. He sat staring up at the moon through the iron bars. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then he smiled faintly. "I knew you would come back." Olivia could not explain why those words made her both happy and sad. She knelt beside the cage and handed him a small cloth bundle. Inside were pieces of bread, dried fruit, and a bottle of water. Noah accepted them carefully. "Thank you. You do not have to thank me every time." "Yes, I do." He looked down at the food. "Most people only look at me because they are afraid." Olivia settled onto the cold ground beside the cage. Why are they afraid? The question lingered between them. Noah hesitated. His fingers tightened around the bottle. "Because strange things happen around me." "What kind of strange things?" He shook his head. "I do not know. I never mean for them to happen." The sadness in his voice felt older than a child should sound. Olivia studied him for a moment. "How old are you?" 11. 11. The answer made everything feel even more unfair. Noah should have been running through fields, playing games, and laughing with friends. Instead, he sat alone behind iron bars waiting for a judgment he barely understood. "Do you have a family?" Olivia asked gently. For the first time, fear crossed his face. Real fear. "I used to." His voice dropped almost to a whisper. "I think they are looking for me." Olivia frowned. "You think?" Noah slowly nodded. "I cannot remember everything anymore." A gust of wind swept through the square. The shadows around the cage seemed to ripple strangely. Olivia blinked and the effect vanished. Noah immediately pulled his sleeves lower. "Sometimes pieces of my memory disappear," he admitted. "Sometimes I wake up and forget names, places, faces." Olivia felt her heart ache. Before she could respond, Noah suddenly looked toward the forest beyond town. His expression changed completely. "They are getting closer." "Who?" Olivia asked. Noah stared into the darkness beyond the rooftops. "The people searching for me." Far away, beyond the town borders, a lone wolf howl echoed. Through the night, Noah lowered his head. "When they find me, everything is going to change." Unseen from the shadows of a nearby building, Ethan Blackthorne listened to every word. And for the first time since arriving in Grey Hollow, the Alpha King realized the truth hidden beneath the rumors might be far more dangerous than anyone imagined. The following morning arrived beneath a blanket of gray clouds. The air felt heavier than usual, as though the entire town sensed something approaching. Olivia stood outside her cottage watching leaves tumble across the road while Noah's words replayed in her mind. "When they find me, everything is going to change." She had tried to dismiss them as the fears of a frightened child, but something deep inside her refused to let them go. By noon, unusual rumors had already begun spreading through Grey Hollow. Travelers claimed riders had been seen near the northern border. Others whispered about royal scouts moving through neighboring territories. Nobody knew the truth, yet tension settled over the town like an invisible fog. Olivia spent the day helping at the bakery, but her attention drifted constantly toward the square. Each passing hour brought Noah closer to the judgment waiting for him tomorrow night. By late afternoon, she could no longer ignore the feeling in her chest. She packed fresh bread, apples, and a small wool blanket into a basket before making her way back toward the platform. This time people noticed. Conversations lowered as she passed. Some wolves exchanged disapproving glances. Others openly stared. Word of her defense the previous evening had already spread farther than she realized. Olivia kept her eyes forward. She reached the platform just as the sun began sinking behind the distant forest. Noah sat quietly inside the cage. His face brightened the moment he saw her. "You came back," he said. Olivia smiled despite herself. "I brought food." Noah accepted the basket carefully. "Nobody has ever visited me this much before." The simple honesty of the statement struck her harder than any accusation could have. She unfolded the blanket and slid it through the bars. "The nights are getting colder." Noah ran, his fingers across the fabric. For several seconds he said nothing. Then he looked up. "Why are you helping me?" Olivia opened her mouth before realizing she did not have an easy answer. Finally she shrugged. "Because somebody should." Noah lowered his gaze. A faint smile appeared before fading again. "My mother used to say that." Olivia's heart skipped. "You remember your mother?" "Sometimes." His voice softened. "I remember her singing." He closed his eyes as if chasing a distant memory. "And I remember someone carrying me through snow." The memory seemed to slip away almost as quickly as it arrived. Noah frowned. Everything else is blurry. Before Olivia could ask more, the atmosphere around the square shifted. Several riders entered town from the eastern road. Their horses carried dark banners marked with a silver wolf crest. The sight immediately drew attention. Citizens stepped aside. Shopkeepers emerged from doorways. Whispers spread through the streets. Olivia noticed Noah tense beside her. His eyes locked onto the crest. Fear returned instantly. "They are here," he whispered. Olivia turned toward him. "Who?" Noah's face had gone pale. "The people searching for me." Across the square, one of the mounted figures removed his hood. Strong features, silver eyes, calm authority. Ethan Blackthorne finally stepped fully into the open. The crowd had not yet recognized their king, but Noah had. And the look on the boy's face told Olivia one terrifying truth. Noah was not afraid of being found. He was afraid of what everyone would learn after he was. The square fell silent in a way Olivia had never experienced before. Even the wind seemed to hesitate. The riders stopped near the platform, their dark horses standing motionless as townspeople slowly backed away to clear a path. One by one, the citizens of Grey Hollow began recognizing the silver wolf crest. Murmurs spread through the crowd like ripples across water. Some wolves lowered their heads immediately. Others dropped to one knee. Olivia's breath caught in her throat. The man she had seen only from a distance stepped forward beneath the fading light. Ethan Blackthorne carried no crown, yet authority surrounded him as naturally as moonlight surrounded the night sky. His silver eyes swept across the square before settling briefly on Noah's cage. The boy shrank backward. Fear clouded every feature of his face. Olivia noticed it instantly. She moved a little closer to the bars. "Noah," she whispered. "What is wrong?" He shook his head. "It is happening." "What is happening?" His hands trembled. "I tried to stop it." The strange markings along his neck darkened beneath his skin. Olivia felt a chill race through her body. Around them, more wolves gathered to witness the arrival of the Alpha King. Elder Marcus hurried forward and bowed deeply. "Your Majesty, we did not expect your arrival." Ethan regarded him calmly. "That much is obvious." The elder forced a nervous smile. "We are handling a dangerous situation." Ethan's gaze shifted toward the cage again. "Are you?" The simple question made several council members exchange uneasy looks. Before anyone could answer, Noah suddenly gasped. Olivia spun toward him. He had fallen to one knee inside the cage. His breathing had become uneven. The dark markings spread farther across his skin like ink moving beneath glass. Panic erupted among the nearest spectators. People stumbled backward. Mothers pulled children closer. Several guards instinctively reached for their weapons, though none moved forward. "Noah," Olivia said softly. "Look at me." The boy lifted his head. His eyes were full of fear. Not fear for himself. Fear of what everyone else might see. "I do not want to hurt anyone," he whispered. "You have not hurt anyone," Olivia replied firmly. "Listen to me. Breathe." Her voice remained calm despite the chaos building around them. The shadows around the platform began shifting unnaturally. Darkness gathered beneath the cage and curled along the wooden boards like drifting smoke. Gasps spread through the crowd. "See," someone shouted. "The monster is showing itself." Fear multiplied instantly. Olivia ignored the voices. She stepped closer until she was directly beside the bars. Noah's breathing slowed slightly. "You are not alone," she told him. "Do you hear me?" The moving shadows hesitated. For a brief moment, everything became still. Noah stared at her. Then something remarkable happened. The darkness slowly retreated. The swirling shadows faded back into the platform as though responding to her voice. Silence followed. Complete silence. Ethan Blackthorne watched every second without speaking. His expression revealed nothing, but his eyes never left Olivia. She had done what none of the guards, elders, or townspeople had managed to do. She had calmed the frightened child everyone else feared. And in that moment, the Alpha King became certain of one thing. The greatest danger in Grey Hollow was not Noah. It was the secret the boy had been carrying all along. No one spoke for several long seconds. The strange shadows had vanished, yet the fear hanging over Grey Hollow remained. Citizens stared at Noah from a greater distance now, uncertain whether they had just witnessed proof of the council's accusations or evidence that something far more complicated was unfolding before them. Olivia remained beside the cage. She could still see the fear in Noah's eyes. It was not the fear of someone caught doing wrong. It was the fear of someone desperately trying to prevent a disaster. Ethan Blackthorne finally stepped forward. The movement alone commanded attention. Elder Marcus straightened nervously. "Your Majesty," he began. "Surely now you understand why the council reached its decision." Ethan did not immediately answer. Instead, he approached the cage until only a few feet separated him from Noah. The boy lowered his gaze. "Look at me," Ethan said quietly. Noah hesitated before obeying. The crowd watched in complete silence. Ethan studied the child carefully, not with anger, not with suspicion, with recognition. Olivia noticed the change instantly. Something in the Alpha King's expression had shifted. "How long have the memory losses been happening?" Ethan asked. Noah blinked. Surprise flashed across his face. "Almost a year." Murmurs spread through the crowd. Ethan continued. "And the shadows?" "Longer." Noah swallowed hard. "I try to control them." Elder Marcus stepped forward. "Your Majesty, this creature has admitted it." Ethan's silver eyes moved toward the elder. The look alone silenced him. "Admitted what?" Ethan asked. "That he is cursed?" The elder hesitated. "That he is dangerous." Dangerous people do not spend months trying to protect others from themselves. The words struck the crowd harder than any shout could have. Olivia stared at Ethan. He knew something. Something important. Noah's eyes widened. "You know who I am." It was not a question. Ethan exhaled slowly. The square seemed to hold its breath. "Yes," he said. "I know exactly who you are." The silence that followed felt endless. Then Ethan turned toward the assembled townspeople. "This child is not a monster." Shock rippled through the crowd. Elder Marcus looked horrified. Several council members exchanged panicked glances. Ethan's voice remained calm and steady. 11 years ago, members of the royal family disappeared during a journey through the Northern Territories. Most believed they were lost forever. Olivia felt her pulse quicken. Noah looked as though he could barely breathe. One survived. Ethan looked directly at the boy. "My sister's son." Gasps erupted across the square. Noah closed his eyes. The secret was finally exposed. "His name is Noah Blackthorne." Ethan's voice carried across every corner of Grey Hollow. "He is my nephew, the last direct heir of a bloodline older than any pack represented here tonight." Complete silence followed. Olivia struggled to process what she had just heard. The frightened child everyone feared was not an abandoned monster. He was royalty. Yet Ethan was not finished. Years ago, enemies of the crown placed an ancient curse upon him. The shadows you witnessed are not evil. They are the curse fighting to consume what remains of his true power. Noah lowered his head as tears gathered in his eyes. For the first time since Olivia had met him, he was no longer carrying the burden alone. The truth stood openly beneath the moon. And all around the square, wolves who had spent days condemning him suddenly found themselves questioning everything they thought they knew. The revelation changed everything, yet nothing changed at all for Olivia. Around her, wolves whispered in disbelief. Some stared at Noah with shock. Others looked away entirely, unable to reconcile the frightened child before them with the image they had created in their minds. Elder Marcus appeared pale beneath the lantern light. Several council members lowered their heads in shame. But Olivia found herself focused on only one thing. Noah still looked afraid, even after the truth had been spoken, even after his identity had been revealed. He stood quietly inside the cage, his shoulders tense, as though he expected the crowd to reject him all over again. Ethan noticed it too. The Alpha King stepped closer and rested a hand against one of the iron bars. "Noah." The boy slowly lifted his eyes. You are safe now. The words were simple, yet something inside Noah seemed to break free. Tears slipped down his cheeks. He quickly wiped them away, embarrassed. Olivia felt her chest tighten. No child should have carried so much fear for so long. The crowd remained silent. No one knew what to say. No one knew how to undo weeks, months, perhaps years of misunderstanding. Then Ethan turned unexpectedly toward Olivia. Hundreds of eyes followed his gaze. Olivia froze. She suddenly became aware of every person watching her. "What is your name?" Ethan asked. "Olivia Bennett, Your Majesty." Ethan studied her for several seconds. "The guards reported that you visited him every day." Heat rose into Olivia's face. "I only brought food. You stayed when others left." She did not know how to answer. Ethan glanced toward Noah before returning his attention to her. "Why?" The question echoed across the square. Olivia swallowed. She could feel the weight of the crowd pressing against her. For a moment she considered giving a simple answer. Something safe. Something forgettable. But when she looked at Noah standing alone behind those bars, honesty became impossible to avoid. Because he looked scared. Silence followed. Olivia took a breath. Everyone kept calling him a monster. But every time I looked at him, I saw a child who was alone. Noah lowered his head. Ethan listened carefully. "Even after you saw the shadows?" Olivia nodded. "Especially after that." Confusion flickered across several faces in the crowd. Ethan tilted his head. Slightly. "Why especially after that?" Olivia looked directly at Noah. "Because he was terrified of them too." The square became completely still. For the first time, many of the townspeople truly looked at Noah instead of their fear. They saw the trembling hands, the exhausted eyes, the loneliness. Ethan's expression softened. He turned toward the gathered wolves of Gray Hollow. "Strength is easy to admire when it wears a crown." His voice carried effortlessly through the night. "Compassion is far rarer." Then he looked back at Olivia. A faint smile appeared for the first time. "You saw what no one else cared to see." Olivia felt her heart pound. Ethan nodded once. That took courage. The words settled over the square like moonlight. No grand speech followed. None was necessary. Because in that single moment, the Alpha King had publicly honored the one person who chose kindness when fear would have been easier. And judging by the way Noah looked at Olivia afterward, it was a moment neither of them would ever forget. The next morning, sunlight spilled across Gray Hollow for the first time in days. The town looked different somehow. The buildings had not changed. The streets were the same. Yet the weight that had hung over the square seemed lighter. News of Noah's true identity had traveled through every home before sunrise. Wolves who once crossed the street to avoid the cage now stood quietly at a distance, uncertain how to face the child they had misunderstood. Olivia arrived at the platform carrying a basket as she always had. This time, however, she stopped in surprise. The iron cage stood open. Noah sat on the edge of the platform wrapped in the wool blanket she had given him. For the first time since she met him, he was smiling. A real smile. Not the small, cautious expression she had seen before. A smile that made him look like the 11-year-old boy he was supposed to be. "Good morning," he said. Olivia laughed softly. "Good morning." Noah looked toward the sky. "I forgot what freedom felt like." The words carried no bitterness, only wonder. Nearby, royal attendants prepared horses and supplies for the journey ahead. Ethan Blackthorne intended to bring Noah home. The curse still remained, but now the boy would no longer face it alone. As the morning passed, townspeople slowly approached. Some offered food. Others offered apologies. Noah accepted each gesture with a grace that surprised everyone. He never demanded explanations. He never asked why they had feared him. Olivia realized that despite everything he had endured, Noah still believed people could be better than their worst mistakes. By afternoon, the entire town gathered one final time in the square. This gathering felt nothing like the others. There were no accusations, no fear, no calls for judgment. Ethan stood before the crowd with Noah beside him. The Alpha King's presence remained powerful, yet today there was warmth in his voice. "Every generation is given a choice," he said, "to follow fear or to follow truth." Silence settled across the square. Fear sees monsters where they do not exist. Truth sees people. Many lowered their eyes. Ethan was not speaking only about Noah. He was speaking about all of them. Then he turned toward Olivia. Once again, hundreds of faces followed his gaze. Olivia felt her cheeks warm. Ethan stepped forward and extended his hand. Come here. Nervously, she joined him. Noah immediately moved to stand beside her. Ethan looked from one to the other. This town will remember many things about these past days. His silver eyes settled on Olivia. But what it should remember most is that one person chose kindness when it was hardest. A quiet murmur spread through the crowd. Ethan nodded toward her. The future belongs to people brave enough to see the good in others before the rest of the world does. Olivia could not find words. Noah solved the problem for her. Without hesitation, he reached over and took her hand. Thank you, he whispered. Tears filled Olivia's eyes. Around them, sunlight broke through the clouds, illuminating the square in gold. For the first time in years, Noah looked hopeful. For the first time in days, Gray Hollow felt at peace. And as Ethan watched them standing together beneath the afternoon sky, he found himself thinking about destiny. Because sometimes the person who changes a kingdom is not a king, not a warrior, not a hero from a legend. Sometimes it is simply a kind-hearted girl who refuses to stop seeing humanity where everyone else sees a monster.